All right, hi there everyone. This is Julia Molloy with Molloy Management Group, and I am very excited about today. Thank you all for joining me. This is kind of the launch of something that I haven't done before, and I'm really excited about it. It is a 5-day, 5-lesson little complimentary intensive for you all. Congratulations on those of you who are here on taking this really exciting step in your business. My intention for this series is to kind of give you a good platform, a little foundation by which to examine your own brand and think about it in a way that kind of propels you toward certainly more luxury and more authenticity, which I'm hearing a lot more of that word out in society. I've been talking about authenticity for several years now, and I think it's catching on. I'm hearing a lot of people talking about having an authentic brand and expressing themselves authentically. And as many of you know, that is one of the keys to kind of the law of attraction and kind of cultivating and manifesting abundance in our own lives. So my presentation today is going to kind of launch this. And a few of you may have seen this presentation in some form. I've done it here as a webinar, I think a year or two ago, and then I was recently in Atlanta and I gave the same presentation. And basically what it is my sharing of the patterns and kind of the things that I have seen that luxury brands are doing that other firms aren't necessarily doing. And my intention is to share with you exactly what those are today. And then the next 4 days, next consecutive, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm going to be sending you homework. And I will actually be sending you this video along with your first piece of homework that I'm hoping that you all can do tonight. So ideally, and I know you're all super busy, especially this time of year, but ideally you would be able to spend a little bit of time every evening doing a little work on your business, and I'll be sending you a little lesson for the next, well, if we include today, 5 days, and then by Friday I have a few extra special things waiting for you on Friday for the last lesson. But hopefully by that point you will have more clarity on your brand and some definitive steps to take in creating or refining at least your brand and your business offering and kind of how you do business. One of the primary, like the fundamental, I guess the premise behind everything that I do with design firms kind of leads to this one sentence: one becomes luxury from the inside out. I'm going to say that again. One becomes luxury from the inside out. And so a lot of my presentations and kind of my teachings and my methods and everything that I do on a daily basis really is based on that one principle. And that if we elevate ourselves or strive to elevate our echelon and the kind of our sphere of influence and who we're working with, there's some inside work that needs to be done, because you can't just put on a facade. It's not about just putting on a good logo and having a fancy website and polishing yourself up a little bit, but there's internal work in how you do business and how you function that facilitates you really exuding a level of confidence and being able to increase your pricing and your deliverables, and not having it be something that feels forced or contrived, but really is coming from a place of just pure confidence and really value. Everyone talks about increasing your pricing and how do I charge more and validate my pricing. And this is the thing, is that when you really are providing that higher level of value per hour or on the job, or the way in which you do things, the way in which you communicate and interact with your prospective clients and your clients, that answer is easy, because you have intrinsically increased your value. So expressing that is really, you're coming from a different place. You're not like, oh God, I'm going to ask for a higher price and hopefully they'll go for it. But it's just like coming from a place of like, that's what it costs. I'm really worth it. I work more efficiently. My deliverables are more professional. You're just coming from a different place, and that comes across, and it's an energy thing more than anything. So my presentation today is going to kickstart that, and we're going to talk about the patterns and the things that I have found are pivotal to really refining that luxury brand for you. And as you can see on the screen, there's 7 secrets of the top luxury interior design firms, and this series is 5, and that's because there's a couple that I'm not going to focus so much on in this presentation or in this series because they have kind of a different aspect to them. But we're going to work on kind of really refining your points of contact with your clients, really defining your brand and your what I call key characteristics, which is going to be your first bit of homework that you'll hopefully have a chance to do tonight. Okay, so anyway, I'm just going to get started here. I'm going to start with what is luxury. And I think it's important that we define this, because what I have found, especially over the last couple of years, is that that definition of luxury has changed quite a bit. I think in the past we have thought luxury being kind of overpriced and having a certain level of airs that maybe can seem distasteful or arrogant and those kinds of things. And I actually don't really see luxury that way, and I never have. And I think our society is shifting a little bit to be more aware of kind of the underlying essence of what luxury is. Now, what I'd like to do is have you all think about your most luxurious experience. I'm going to share with you mine, and there might be a few of you out there that have heard mine, but I'm going to share it again. I like thinking about it. And while I tell you my story, I want you to think about when you felt the most like you were having the most luxurious experience, whether it be, you know, a spa treatment or a vacation or a really nice dining experience. Figure out what that is for you. So mine is, it's a long time ago. Unfortunately, I need to have another one. This was several years ago with my then boyfriend, but now husband. We went to visit my father, who was one of the fellows that launched General Motors Shanghai in China, obviously. And he flew us out for a little holiday. And of course, after that long flight, I had to get a massage. So I booked a massage at the Banyan Tree. And I know they have several, so maybe a few of you have been to the Banyan Tree. It is amazing, immaculate, gorgeous. So I'm walking down the corridor, and there's stacked stone and bamboo and fountains and water and Buddhas, and the environment was absolutely stunning and really did facilitate a feeling of Zen. So anyway, I had my own giant room with a bench, and I took this shower, gorgeous wood shower, and sitting there in my robe. And of course, you just don't get a massage. You have this whole like pre-massage thing that happens apparently. So I had my little tea, and I'm sitting there in my robe. I'm all clean and warm and happy. And I had this little Chinese lady attending to me and taking care of me. And I'm drinking my tea, and she left the room for a little bit, and then she came back, and she's coming in with this this bowl in her hand, and she's walking to me as they do, just so quaint and sweet. And she kneels before me, and she says, "I will now wash your feet in jasmine tea and rose petals." And she kneels down before me, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy. And she washed my feet in tea and rose petals, and it was the most elevating experience I have ever had, and you know, at that point and since. And the funny thing is that I got the massage after that, and I don't remember the massage. I know that it was a good massage, but I don't remember it. I remember the experience of having someone attend to needs I didn't even know I had. I didn't know I needed my feet cleaned. So that and along with a private jet ride in a G4 was probably my top top two experiences. And the reason why I bring that to mind is because I want to get you all in kind of the place, what that feels like, and whether that is a beautiful, candlelit picnic, or a 5-star dining experience where you have your own, waiter or waitress, attending to you in particular, or it can take any form, whatever that was for you. I want you to put yourself in that place and think about how you felt. My idea of luxury is that it is about attending to someone's every need before they even know they need it. It's about going beyond the tangibles. It's about going on what is to be expected and elevating the mind, the body, the spirit. And I think if we were all to chime in here and share our experiences, we would say that the one, kind of defining point is that it made you feel elevated, no matter what that experience was. And so I want you to think about how close does that luxurious experience that you've had come to the experience that you provide your clients. On a scale from 1 to 10, what are you? Are you 6, 7? Depends on the client. I think that is something that we can all strive for. Now, even in our business, it's always a moving target, and really providing that luxury level is an ongoing process. I don't think it ever stops. And I don't claim to say that you need to, make your clients feel like you're washing their feet in rose petals, but giving them that experience where you've got it covered, you know what their needs are, and you're attending to their needs before they even know that they have them. That, to me, is luxury. And that's what my programs and everything I've put together help the designer to do. So let's get on to the patterns. And as I said, I've worked with, tons of different kinds of firms over the last decade. I think I was one of the first, I think I maybe even was the first interior design business consultant back before there wasn't such a thing. And I've worked with, early on, huge names, the Barbara Berrys of the world, and a lot of designers in LA, certainly luxury level. And I work with, small firms, where it's just you or maybe a couple team members. And as the years have gone on, I think the majority of my clients actually are fairly small business owners that kind of strive for the boutique model, which is not a ton of employees, not at the big management thing, but more of fewer clients, but at a higher echelon. So anyway, in either case, I think these will address your needs pretty directly. Okay, so the first one is pretty important, and it's multifaceted, and it's much easier to talk about than to do, but we will touch on those solutions as well. But those luxury firms, I've got to tell you, they have a company structure that facilitates the principal designer being able to do 4 key things. And one is design concept lead. They are the ones running the show in terms of what those concepts are. And that's really your favorite part, not necessarily on the execution of everything, but on defining the look and the feel of those projects, because you have a really special gift for kind of figuring out what a client needs. And then it's a matter of having a team that can help you to execute on that. Client acquisition, certainly you're all doing that anyway, and I know that there are several firms that like to have their designers play a part in acquiring clients and getting contracts out. I don't really advocate for that. I think that is the CEO's job, at least until you get to a certain scale, and then you can expand out, especially with corporate projects. But I would say for the most part, client acquisition is solely your responsibility. Cultivating and maintaining those client relationships, certainly your job, and all of the work involved in CEO company development, which I have in my list of documents and things, I think it's 8-page job description or list of duties for the CEO. And I think a lot of you, when you begin working with me, you get that list and you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing half of these. But that's pretty normal. It's a lot. So secret number one, a company structure that facilitates you primarily doing these 4 things and these 4 things only. The company structure will be strategically designed to facilitate optimal efficiency, organization, a streamlined process, and an exclusive branding image. The structure will propel you toward high performance, scalability, elite level clientele, premium pricing, celebrity status, and growth, if you want those things. What it does is it frees up your time in such a way that you can utilize it in a way that grows your business in whatever form that takes, whether it is getting published more, increasing your kind of brand exposure in your local area, being interviewed, working on gaining a higher level clientele, like going to those auctions or being where your clients are, spending the kind of time that if you're running around doing all the little stuff all the time and not running as efficiently, you're spending your time elsewhere. I know my clients in working in several different programs claim, and I would attest to this, that a combination of like using Studio Webware and some of my methodologies frees up at least 30%, depends on how dysfunctional you are to begin with, but at least 30% of your time is then freed up to then allocate it elsewhere, to business development, growing your business. Okay, I'm going to give you some real meat here, and keep in mind you all are going to get this. I know when I give this presentation, I see people just scrambling to write all these notes down. I don't want you to do that. I want you to really absorb it and know that I will be sending you the PDF of this along with the actual recording, along with your homework for today. Okay, so don't spend so much energy focused on writing all this down. But in terms of that structure, you definitely need clear roles, responsibilities, have your very clear roles, and we'll talk about hierarchy. That's one of our lessons tomorrow. Actually, we'll talk about that company structure and what those roles are. I've defined 5 key roles for an interior design firm. It doesn't matter how many people you have with you. There are 5 roles, 5 pieces to that engine. So being really clear about what those are, what the accountabilities are for each person, meaning not just your job description, but the things that are on that list that kind of you own in that role. The buck stops with you when it comes to X, Y, and Z. Another thing, a centralized and easily accessible information system. Now, that can be a matter of keeping your files on a server, or a lot of people are using cloud-based applications now like Dropbox and Evernote and those kinds of things. Your information on all of your projects and kind of all goings on need to be accessible to everyone, modifiable by everyone, as appropriate, obviously. Another thing, one of the many reasons why I advocate for Studio Webware is that it is cloud-based and it's just extremely well developed for a lot of reasons. It helps a design firm. But again, even if you have remote team members or 1099s, that all the project information is right there in front of you, accessible to anyone as long as they've got internet and an iPad or a computer. Really, really important, because you lose a lot of efficiency when you're trying to track down files or sync them up or make sure you're in the most updated version, those kinds of things. Easily updated and centralized. The next one is a short-term tasking and team synchronization system. This does not have to be high-tech at all. I have a kind of a system in a document called the master task list, which is basically where you pull the like the giant scope of work that you have and pull out the little pieces that need to start being addressed now or in the next couple of weeks. And so one of the things that I found in a lot of firms, even large firms, like across the board, one of the the most intense challenges you have is keeping everyone synchronized. There's so many moving parts in a design project, so much going on, so much changes on a daily basis. Keeping everyone synced and productive is a real challenge, and it must be overcome. Couple different things. One is, my master task list helps a lot, and I have designers using it that say that they wouldn't be able to handle the amount of work that they have without that. But that team synchronization meeting that you have every Monday is hopefully, or at the beginning of the week, is really important to keep everyone well tasked for the week. A lot of people are using things like Basecamp, Asana, and to a certain extent Studio Webware, although there's some other tools that I think are being developed in that will make that project management side of that a little bit more effective in the new year, which I'll share a little bit with you later. So whatever that is for you, it needs to be easily updated, again, very simple to use, and something that people will actually be able to maintain in a timely manner. Because if it's not, then they're not going to use it, and then you can't trust the data in it, and then it falls to the wayside. So we'll go into that a little bit, but for now, just a short-term tasking system, whether it's a task list that you go on every day, something to keep everyone on task throughout the week, so you're not spinning your wheels or going back and forth trying to figure out what got done and what needs to get done. Design development information exchange that requires limited presence of the principal designer. Now that's kind of a complex way of saying you need to figure out a way that your design team is not waiting for you all the time. And that's one of the things that I've seen in pretty good majority of design firms is that the principal designer ends up being the person that is holding up the process a lot of times. Because you're out and about, you're working in the field, you're maintaining client relationships, you're networking, you're traveling, you're doing all your CEO stuff as well as doing the design concept. Everything needs your approval or your eye. So a lot of times, you're wanting things to happen, and then the designers or your junior or whoever it is like, well, I was waiting for you. I couldn't really move forward until I heard that. So we want to eliminate that as much as possible. So you need to figure out a way in which to exchange information, like your feedback or their questions, and answer it in a way that is really conducive to saving time and not a lot of interruptions. One of the things we're striving for is prolonged periods of high levels of concentration. It's prolonged periods of high levels of concentration. That means not a lot of interruptions. And I do, for a lot of clients, I do a efficiency quantification analysis, in which we actually take, pay rates and billing rates, and we combine them with how many instances people are interrupted, or mistakes are made, or you're looking for things, those kind of things. Those like stop and start type of things, they actually have a quantifiable amount of time. I think it's like 0.06 or something like that an hour. So what is that for you? I mean, usually the start and stop and the interruptions is the hugest area for lack of efficiency and like payroll and cost associated with inefficiency. So I mean, an average design firm of like 3, 4 people, something like that. So a healthy firm will spend about $30K a year, give or take, on inefficiency. And I just see that as kind of the baseline, because we're not robots, things change, it's an organic process we're in. In an unhealthy firm, or one that's not really run very optimally, that number can easily double. And most of that number has to do with stop and starts associated with interruptions. So the idea is to get a structure in place that facilitates you not having to interrupt. People can be proactive. People can access the information. You can give feedback. They can ask questions in a way that it doesn't require interruptions. You can kind of consolidate your moves and deal with them all. For some firms, that is a little, questions, answer, design binder of some kind, where the design team will be adding new questions or things to be approved in a certain section of a little binder that's like kind of central in the office, and then The principal designer will review that and by every Wednesday and give feedback or something like that, maybe twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, something like that. So they always have the information they need to move forward, something like that. And also Studio Webware facilitates that greatly when you use some of the methods that I prescribe. Make sense? Also, the last one here in that structure is one person conducts the expediting, freeing up the design team to design. And I don't care how big your firm is. I mean, obviously, if you're sole proprietor, you're wearing all the hats, at least for the time being. But one of the first hires I recommend, and we will talk about this, I'll share a video with you tomorrow and provide homework on this very topic of like what that team looks like and how do you kind of strategically build that over time. But I want one person conducting the expediting, preferably not you. And preferably not a designer. I want, first of all, that's kind of expensive help, let's say, to do all that follow-up. And expediting is like everything post-purchase order creation. Okay, so the design team is responsible for getting that purchase order created, getting all the specs accurate, making sure the estimated ship date is on there, making sure everything is solid, creating that purchase order, and then passing it on to the expediter, who can also be, and certainly at the beginning, when you're building your team, it's kind of small. I recommend it being the office admin. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, as I said, tomorrow. But one person, not a bunch of people. I don't want there to be a decision tree involved with the expediting. One of the things I do when I go into a firm is we kind of plot out the workflow. And a box and an arrow, and then the next thing happens in an arrow. And when I first get there, a lot of times designers, like, we talk about the process, and it's like, well, if it's this project, then that person does this, and then sometimes it's this person, but most of the time it's that, and we do it this way. But occasionally, I don't want any of that. I want there to be one modus operandi, meaning if the PO is cut, or the PO is created, we know we have one person to ask about where it is in the status of getting there. Okay? Very, very important. Okay. Choosing your tools. Really, really important. And something that has become, very exciting over the last few years, but also very challenging because there's a lot of choices out there. I don't recommend the same tools for every firm. So it just kind of depends on, are you residential or commercial or hospitality? How big is your firm? How involved in the design, construction process? I mean, I've got clients that really don't do any purchasing at all. They're mostly speccing and managing the construction, like they're doing new kitchens and bathrooms and those kinds of things. So every firm has a little bit of a different formula that really, really works. These are the 5 principles that work no matter what, though. Whatever your systems are, a couple things need to apply. One is it needs to be simple. And I think sometimes, especially for some firms, going high tech isn't always the best way. Sometimes it's low tech and easy, like an Excel spreadsheet or some kind of manual tracking system. But whatever the systems are, they need to be simple, they need to be easily used, accessible to everyone, requires minimal time to administer, and easily monitored and modified by the people that need to be doing so. If your systems do not meet these 5 criterion, what happens is, if you've ever used one that doesn't really meet this, you know what happens. You get too busy, which you all do, and you don't have time to update it, and then you can't really trust the information that's in there, and then it becomes outdated and people stop using it. You can't trust the information in there, and it becomes too cumbersome, and it doesn't end up working. It's short-lived. So I have a lot of people that have tried Basecamp and had this very thing happen where they were it was great, but then it just became too cumbersome to update as you were going at the speed of real business, and and all that time ends up wasted. There are ways to use Basecamp though, or like there's Fang Office that's actually really good as well. Fang Office, F-E-N-G Office. I think that they're a little bit more powerful than a lot of firms really need. So one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you're doing that is figure out what information goes in there and what types of updates. I think one of the challenges that a lot of firms have come into is they're putting too much of the detail in there, and then updating all of those details becomes the part that holds them up. So keep it as cursory as possible while still being really relevant and helpful. Rule of thumb. Also, again, one of the reasons why I recommend Studio Webware is because all the information for your projects are in there, and that is so powerful on so many levels. And again, it meets all of these criteria. There is a little bit of a learning curve. I won't say it's not a challenge to implement any new software, but it's really intuitive to the way it coincides with the way you think about your process, the way designers think. And I certainly have a lot of tools to help people with that, and there's online tools and that kind of thing. By the way, I don't own Studio Webware. I don't get commissions from Studio Webware. I've just worked in so many offices over the last decade that I've used everything from Design Manager to Designer Logic, QuickBooks with Excel spreadsheets, MYOB, Peachtree, all these different systems, Asana, Basecamp. And as the operations specialist for the industry, it's my job to advise everyone on what I see as the best ways of operating an interior design firm. And I can say just without a doubt, it is a accounting and project management system, kind of all-encompassing system. Studio Webware beats them all out 10 times over. So if you're not already on Studio Webware, you might want to consider adopting it. And I have some methodologies for that to make it as painless and efficient as possible, because I know, especially when you're really busy and you're dealing with capacity issues and trying to grow your firm, the last thing you have time to do is incorporate a new software in a way that's going to be disruptive. So I totally get that. But anyway, I hope that makes sense to you all. Secret number 2, documentation. This is not the funnest part of your job. I get that. But you do need to have them in place, period. I've developed something called the Business Blueprint that kind of does all of this for you, and then you just modify it so it's not like writing an entire new operations manual. But regardless of how far along you are in that process, you need to have it done. It's really, really important for establishing a level of like protocol and standards so that your team has a way to make judgment calls and a predictable way of moving forward. And most firms that I go into have some of this done already. It's usually like 20% maybe of everything documented, and it usually is something like, a mishmash of documents most of the time. And there's a few of you that have done a really good job on this so far, and kudos to you. For those of you who are still a little bit not really centralized, like this is our operations manual, this is how we do things, this is our process flow, these are the roles, this is kind of how we, run through X, Y, and Z. You need to get that done. I can help you if you need it, but it is really, really important. It creates kind of this cycle of excellence that leads to so many positive changes in your business, just having this one, kind of monumental task done. You need to have the quality and standards and kind of the expectations that you have for everything that leaves your office and everything that is done in your office documented. What does that mean? You need to create like this measuring stick, essentially, for whether something is good enough or not coming out of your office. All your roles and accountabilities. New client setup protocol. What happens when you get a new project? A lot of times it's just, everyone kind of knows what to do, but it's not really like, okay, this person does this. Check, 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 check. Oh, did this get done? Check, 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 check. And just a nice, clean process. It's really, really important because you get that project and then everybody knows exactly what happens and what their part of that is, and they just roll with it. And it's, again, creating that standardization and getting people to be really good at what they do. People need structure, your team needs structure, and really creatives need structure. That really helps a lot. You need your design process and timelines to figure out what your goals are over time. You kind of do this already in your own head. You do this. I know you're figuring out what that design project is worth, what the install is, and then, what needs to happen and kind of by when. If install is by July 31st, that means you have to have all your ordering done by the end of April, and you kind of work backwards. But to have that kind of documented in a way that you kind of know what your targets are every month, as in regards to each project, really, really helpful for everyone to kind of stay on the same page. Especially you, as you're kind of tracking and playing timekeeper and keeping everything moving along in your office. Purchasing process procedures, hugely, hugely important. I find that design offices that do procurement, that is the area of the design process where they start to lose money. You're in the black all the way up through procurement, everything post-purchase order creation. That's when you do all the follow-up and make sure the order and the acknowledgement and make sure everyone gets paid and the balances and the shipping updates and getting it shipped to the warehouse or installing in the home. And there's like 20 little things that need to happen in order to get any ordered project or product into the home, and it just takes so much time. Again, that's what a good expediter will do. That process needs to be very well defined. New project scope of work framework. This is something that a lot of you do when you get a new project. You put the kind of the scope of work down and create placeholders. And I've got something called the skeleton method that helps with that. In getting your entire scope of work, so in 6 months you're not wondering, what am I forgetting? Did I order the pillows? Did we, what still needs to be done? If you put the framework in at the very beginning, you've got your entire scope of work, your entire to-do list, and then you just check them off systematically throughout the process. Regular task status and completion updates, again, that's team synchronization, and quality assurance protocols. How do you ensure quality? I know like a lot of you are reviewing proposals before they get out the door, those kinds of things. But what's your Q&A process? So you need to have that documented. Okay? And I know this doesn't sound very like luxury branding and all of that, but it is the background work that is required in order to be luxury. It's just the way it goes. This is an example of a new client checklist. I actually have this document. Pre-contract, all the things that need to happen, any notes that you have, what the CEO is responsible for, what an office manager is responsible for, check, 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 check. Everybody's on the same page. There's no question as to what got done and what still needs to get done. Super simple, easy structure. And it leads to a higher quality of outcome and service for your clients, which is indeed the entire point of all this. Okay, number 3. This is one that I have not seen an exception for in any luxury firm. And that is they have got someone who is essentially the wind beneath their wings. That is that admin role. That is your first hire. And it is someone that understands what you're trying to build. They get your brand. They get luxury. They get an amazing level of client service. They're very good on the phone. They've got a great personal presence, a great over the phone presence. They're someone hopefully that can also play the expediter role, at least until your volumes are high enough that you would need another person. So that means that they need to be able to, as an expediter, they need to be able to push in ways that a good expediter can, like be friendly and be likable while still kind of putting pressure when necessary on vendors to get things done. Okay. Again, one expediter. I won't go into too much detail. I will talk about this again tomorrow. it's just so beneficial in so many ways. And I know a lot of firms went out of business over the last like 3 years. I mean, not so much this last year, but one of the key reasons was they were not able to make the most of their limited resources because they were having their design team, small as it may be, do the expediting. And designers, aren't as good at it, generally speaking. Now, when there's a problem with something, certainly it gets kicked back to the designer because they need to know what's going on, and they are generally, there's a change or a spec shift or something that needs to be shifted. So if there's an issue, the expediter will kick it back to the design team. But for everything else, they just run with it post PO creation. Hugely, hugely important. Okay, now we're getting into some of the more fun stuff. Niche, identifying your niche, really, really important. I've been reading a lot on marketing and positioning, brand positioning, and this niche thing is, I think it's more important than I think a lot of us have given it credit for. One of the things that's really important is understanding what your true gift is. Every designer has their own special nuance, their own special thing that they bring to the table that no other designer does quite in that way. And I mean, a lot of them are designers are like, well, I mean, there's a lot of, high-end residential interior design, and you're right, but that doesn't mean you're not all different, and that doesn't mean you don't all have a particular niche. I want you to think about the people in which you do business with the best, your ideal clients, and some of the benefits that you provide by way of your design services that are really kind of specialized. And it's going to be different for everyone. And you need to think about the way your clients are using their spaces. I want you to think about the intangibles, not so much what you do, but what what is really received by the client. Maybe they're able to entertain better. Maybe they're able to spend more special time with their family without worrying about juice spilling on their fabric. Who are these people? And I know a lot of you work with a lot of different kinds of people. I want you to think about your favorites. I want you to think about the people that really understood the value that you bring and really got it, and the lives that you touched in the most powerful way. And listen to the things that your clients say to you. The testimonials. Think about the intangible benefits. And within those are clues to your specialized niche. By the way, just because you hone in on a niche doesn't mean that that's all you're ever going to do. But that's what you focus on. You've got to focus on something. And it doesn't mean you won't get ancillary business and people that are attracted to that for different reasons. But if you don't identify and kind of try to own a niche, you won't have a way in which those people that you really do service extremely well, you won't be resonating in a way that they will be attracted to you. So you just seem like generic. So you have to be something and let those people that need that something find you. Okay? That means you need to be communicating and resonating with that energy. And then other people will find you as well, just kind of on the ancillary. I hope that makes sense. And I know a lot of you have done this work already. But you can't be everything to everybody. So you got to figure out what you really, really do well, what you love doing, where your heart sings, and where your clients are just so spot on perfect. And what characteristics do those kinds of projects have, and find some common thread. Okay. Another one, be clear on your offering. Okay, so this is like, this isn't my layout. This is kind of like MBA 101, where you kind of figure out, this is a little model, and the whole idea is that in terms of an offering, like something that you consistently provide through your business, you can only provide 2 of these 3 consistently. what are your two? Now, there are no right or wrong answers. Even in luxury, there are no right or wrong answer, again, because it's providing a high level of service and attending to some needs, but that can be done at any level. It doesn't necessarily have to be the clients that are ordering Scalamandra and Baker all the time, or whatever those high level brands are. It's not about that. It's about figuring out what your level is, where that sweet spot is, and then delivering on that in spades consistently. Okay, so we're talking about quality, service, and best price. And there's examples of these all over the place. I mean, you think about Tiffany's, it's going to be quality and service. They've got, not the cheapest jewelry you can find. BCBG is probably somewhere in the middle. Target. A good example on the other end would be one that's really clear is McDonald's. It's the cheapest hamburger you're probably going to buy. Their price and service. I mean, their service is great. I don't even have to get out of my car. That is great service, and they serve you within a couple minutes. Great service for fast food. But in terms of quality, obviously, it's probably going to be one of the worst things you can eat on the planet, pretty much. But you get the idea. So figure out what your two are, and then deliver on that exceedingly well. And that is a big key. I have a cabinetry company, which would be a good example of something to share with you, where they were targeting too high. They were trying to be the uber expensive and high end, but their quality of goods was not quite that. It was very, very high quality, but not the elite. Okay, and they weren't identifying that. They wanted to be that very, very highest, 1%. But their quality was not congruent with that, and so they were getting a lot of complaints, and it just was not clicking, and they were losing business, and they weren't getting referrals. And what they figured out was that they're actually really good at the level just below that, where, if something is like a fraction of a centimeter off in a corner that's hidden, no one's going to care. They're going to look at everything and just love it. It's commensurate with the client's expectation, and so they dropped down their notch just one notch, and delivered really well on that promise of quality and service, and all of a sudden they're meeting their clients' needs extremely well and getting tons of referrals, and their business has completely rebounded. So this is a good example of kind of understanding what your tier is, and then honing in on being congruent with that tier on all platforms, and we'll talk about that congruency and throughout this week. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, defining your key characteristics. All right, so anyone who knows my work knows I talk about this a lot. This is your core. This is the center from which everything else emanates. So if you consider yourself, your business, everything kind of like an onion, this is the center. It is its importance cannot be understated, especially when we talk about branding and congruency and being authentic. And this is actually your first homework assignment, okay? So what I want you to do is create a list of short phrases and adjectives that define your brand, okay? And it's not just about the work that you do, but it's about the vibe of your company, the spirit of your company, your values. It's what you stand for as a company. And it will serve as a navigational compass. It'll serve as a measuring stick by which all of your decisions and everything you do henceforth will be measured to. Okay, so I want you to, and I'll give you a little worksheet, and I'll send that a little later today along with the copy of this video, and we are going to kind of walk through, I'll give you that sheet so you can kind of see some examples, but I want you to go through this process, and a lot of you have already done some of this work, so it's going to come off of maybe some of your mission statement that you've already written. Look for those key phrases and those adjectives. It's going to be stuff like, here, I think I have some examples on the next page. Yeah, okay, so like You can talk a little bit about the type of work you do, tailored, timeless, understated, and talk a little bit about your methodology on how you do business. We're professional, we're honest, we're friendly, we're lighthearted, we're accepting, we're great listeners, we understand our clients' needs, we are discreet, genuine, provide outstanding creative solutions to design projects or design problems, dependable, those kinds of values, the things that you want all of your team and all of your work, those characteristics that you want everything that you do to embody. Okay? And that process is going to go something like this. Just take that worksheet that I give you or start a new sheet of paper, and I want you to just free form download all the adjectives and short phrases that come to mind and just freely add them, and they'll be a little bit redundant and maybe not the right wording. Don't worry about that yet. Just get them down on paper. And I want you to start it today. I don't expect you to finish it today, though, because that's something I'm hoping you'll have done by Friday. Is just download all of those short phrases, and then there'll come a certain point where you no longer have new words and phrases. You kind of got them all out of your system. And then I want you to go through that list and start consolidating and working with the words a little bit, kind of, word crafting, and honing it down to about a dozen key phrases and adjectives. Okay, it's going to be, generally speaking, it ends up being about a dozen, give or take. Okay, so that will be your first homework assignment, and it's something that I want you to work on throughout the week and hopefully have it done by our last lesson on Friday. Okay, because this is so important that you really, in my view, can't create congruency in all points of contact with your client, which is our lesson on Friday, without having the core. So if we're talking about being congruent, what are we being congruent with, right? Your key characteristics. You need to have that established, and then you'll be able to have that kind of measuring stick to then go, okay, is my branding congruent with these characteristics? Is my team congruent with these things? Is the way that we have our in-office meetings congruent with these things? So without that list of things, it's difficult to judge. And there are other ways of doing this, but what I found is that having just this list makes that measuring and that judgment, that discernment, really straightforward and easy. Okay, so look for that worksheet coming in via email today, and we will kind of work on that throughout the week. Okay, and just a couple examples of this, and this is secret number 5, and that is congruent branding. So once you have your key characteristics, just so you know, I want you to do this throughout the week, is I want you to take a look at your branding, your website, your marketing materials, your logo, all of those things, and see if it is congruent. And a lot of times it's not. A lot of times you've grown since you've developed those materials or created your logo, that kind of thing. So if that key characteristics list, if it is, and it should feel very complete and very authentic by the time you're done with that list. Okay? And when you've got that list, it should be current and accurate to who you are, what your brand is, and then you're in a place to kind of judge all of these materials. And you just need to go through and say, hey, is our logo consistent with all of these things? Does it look professional, high-end, luxurious, friendly? Like, is it consistent with those things? Either consistent or expressive of those key characteristics. That's what you're striving for. And then we're going to go a step further later on this week, and we are going to talk about refining that client experience. In fact, I think it might be we are one of my other secrets is getting in the media and the press But that's not something we're going to address in this intensive because it's a little more outward facing and it requires other players. I will be doing some subsequent webinars and programs associated with this particular topic, and having special guests from a PR firm that can help us with this. But I'm going to switch over, and we will address this throughout this series, is refining all those points of contact. Once you have your key characteristics, then it's a matter of figuring out what all points of contact are with your clients, your prospective clients, and your clients. And there will be an exercise, and I want you to start thinking about this. All the ways in which your company comes into contact with potential clients and existing clients and past clients. Okay, so that will be a combination of two things, like the standard points of contact, like how you answer the phone, your outgoing message, the messages you leave, your email signature, all of your documents, in-office meetings, on-site meetings, shopping trips, those kinds of things where you're actually interacting in some way with your clients. Okay, the other kind of mode of interaction is your milestones. And I want you to think about, you probably have a couple lists because you have different types of projects, but there's intrinsic milestones to every project. Now, a lot of you are like at the end leaving flowers or a special gift upon installation. I want you to think about all of your points or milestones. One of them, which I will be sharing some information on Friday, it's going to be a very fun project, is that new client commencement package. I'd want you all to develop and think about what would kind of address the needs of your clients in a branded way, either branded flamboyantly or branded subtly. Think about the needs in this milestone. Every milestone that you can plot out, what are the needs of your client? Okay? And then I want you to think about ways to answer those needs in a way that is congruent with your key characteristics and branded in either flamboyantly or subtly or some combination thereof. And that makes for an extraordinary client experience, one in which will get you more referrals, because people like I didn't really remember the massage that I got. They might not remember or come to mind to think of, the tufted pillow or the special trim or, some detail, but they will remember and talk about the very special experience you created for them and how we craft that experience so that it's something that is extraordinary. It elevates the clients and it gives them something to talk about, which is always a good thing. So that in a nutshell kind of gives you the outline of what we're going to cover this week. The first couple days, obviously, we're going to do the key characteristics. I will be doing some company structure with you on Wednesday, and then we're going to go into, towards the end of the week, some of that branding and kind of points of contact and refining that experience. And I have a little piece of homework for you each day, and I'll be creating a little video for you to watch before you do your homework to give you a little bit of guidance on working through that lesson. Those videos shouldn't be too long, and hopefully the homework won't take you too long, but whatever it takes you, I am certain that it will be well worth the time and effort that you put into it. And I would love it if you can all kind of work through it. And I know this time is demanding, especially this time of year, but I think you'll get the most out of it if you can follow along each day and kind of keep up with the lessons, because I am doing them in kind of a nice order and hoping for a really nice kind of ending that kind of ties everything together and kind of puts you on a new track. And it's a great time of year to do this, because then this can be some of the revisions that you make and plans that you make can be incorporated into your company strategy for next year, and hopefully get you all elevating your processes, elevating the way in which you think about your business, and refining, again, all of those points of contact, getting you attracting authentically that prime target client for you. Again, luxury is not about marketing and all of that stuff. It really is about attraction and association. Luxury is about attraction and association. So my work with you here in this intensive, this 5-day lesson, is to get you attracting in a very authentic way those clients that are craving precisely what it is that you do best. Okay, does that make sense? Again, thank you all so much for joining me. We are just about at time. Is there anyone who has a question for me to answer before we end the session today? And I'm going to unmute you for a minute. I'm going to try to unmute you for a minute. Unmute. I don't know if I can. Okay, I'm going to go down the list. I'm unmuting everyone. If I can. Okay. Anyone have a question before we end the session today? And you can put it in your chat box or your question box. Let's see. I think I might have a couple questions here. I'm trying to bring up my question box. Hold on. I am not able to pull up my little question box. I don't know why. Where are my questions? Oh, here we go. Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, hi, Elle. Elle's here. Yes, I have recorded this session, and because you have registered for this little 5-day, 5-lesson little thing that I'm doing here, you will, later on today, it'll take us a little bit to render this video, but I will be providing you with this video, the PDF of this PowerPoint, so that you can kind of go through it and reference some of the material more readily, print it out, and then along with your key characteristics worksheet that I'd love for you to get started on today. Okay. The 5 sessions, so how this goes is this one is a live webinar, obviously. The next 4 lessons that you get, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, are via email. So I am going to be spending a good deal of the rest of today recording your additional 4 lessons, which won't be as long as this one. They'll be maybe 5-10 minutes or something. Basically me introducing the homework assignment and explaining it. And then all you need to do is open up your email each day. I'll be sending you an email. You open it up, watch the little video, and then open up the document that I send you and do your little homework. Okay, so it's not, you don't have to be available at a certain time for the rest of the week. All you have to do is open up that email and do a little bit of work. Okay. We'll be able to do just one of the meetings over just, oh, okay, Raphael, basically, again, just check your email, and that way you don't have to worry so much about being at a certain time, certain place. Just check your email. I've made it flexible so that, you're able to do it. Otherwise, I know if we're trying to meet 5 days in a row, I know how busy you all are. I am too. That is just not very doable. Okay? Thank you, Raphael. Thank you so much for joining me today. Chicken and egg question. My firm is experiencing steady growth, but not sure if I can afford to staff up to get the next level of service. Any advice, please? Yes, I do have advice on that, and I will share it with you tomorrow, because tomorrow we're going to talk about, I will be sending you a video and some homework associated with building that team, and I do address it from the bottom, like sole proprietor up. I have a lot of clients that are sole proprietors, or just like trying to get poised to bring on that first person to help them. So I will be addressing kind of some recommendations for being able to get someone to help you. Okay. Oh, Roxanne, thank you. Thanks. I love my new hair. Thank you. That's so sweet. All right, everybody. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. We're a little bit just in an hour here. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to check your email for the next 5 days. I have something special planned for you on Friday, and some special kind of gifts and resources for you. So I hope that throughout this period you experience some transformation and really have a little bit of a paradigm shift in terms of how you're thinking about your company, so you can go ahead and implement and really poise your firm for exponential growth in the coming year, whatever growth means for you. I'm hoping that for a lot of you it means a more elevated and more authentic clientele, and hopefully a fabulous staff, small or large, and certainly a business that is very fulfilling to you on many, many levels. So thank you for joining me. Congratulations on taking this step, and I will look forward to the next 4 days of this 5 lessons in 5 days. You guys have a great rest of the week, and I guess I'll see you tomorrow in your inbox. Bye.